Hello everyone, how are you all? Hope you all are keeping well. So welcome back to my channel R.W.S lesson for kids. Today I'll be going through class 11 Sociology, chapter 3 basic concepts part 2. As the part 1 is already uploaded, you can watch if you haven't. So let's move on to the rural and urban society. Okay, so what is rural society? There is like low population, we know there's lower populations. There are natural vegetations, the unity among the members is really good. Okay, and there is panchayat, right? Basically the three tiers, like the gram panchayat samiti, and just jilla parishad, and many other things that we'll read. So let's go through this. Okay, what is a rural society? Rural area is a small community that is outside the confines of city, a commercial hub, or an industrial zone. Basically it's away from the industrial area or from urban area, and that is the reason that they don't get proper services, and even they are not aware of the services, right? um, it may include rural community or villages with natural vegetation and open space. In such an area, the population density is low. Agriculture and animal husbandry is the residents' main source of income, because the villages, the rural peoples are more, they are dependent on the nature, they are dependent on the agriculture. Okay, like majority of the population and the males are actually working in the agricultural field. Okay, and gram panchayat is in charge of monitoring such areas. In village, the majority of the male population is engaged in agriculture, as I told, and related activities such as farming, cattle rearing. They are mostly unaware of the services and amenities available in a city. Simple. This was simple. Can explanation you can write for the explanation. This is very simple. Now let's move on to the problems of the rural society. The first problem is poverty. Um, Obviously, there is a high poverty levels in you know in a rural area, because there is less job opportunities for them, there's less education opportunity for them, hence uh, they're unable to get jobs properly. Okay, so like despite several poverty alleviation programs, a significant proportion of the rural population still lives below the poverty line. Means they don't have money even to buy food, which is a basic need, and even some of them don't have proper shelters to live in. Okay, um, along with that, lack of employment opportunities and unfavorable market conditions contribute to this issue. Okay, and furthermore there are also vulnerable groups, certain groups such as tribal communities, okay, women's mostly, and the marginalized caste remains disproportionately affected by the poverty, right? Now let's move on to the next problem, which is unemployment and underemployment. Obviously, because there is no proper education system, if people will not get proper education, there'll be no employment for them. And furthermore there are not there they never get a proper institutions too. Okay, so there's obviously a limited job opportunities, and hence the people who are living in the rural area or in the villages, they migrate to cities or urban area, okay, to earn more for their families. Okay, so many rural youth migrate to the urban areas uh, in search of better employment, leading to, you know overpopulation in that particular area, and also pollution. Okay, now the third one is agricultural problem. See, there's like low productivity, despite agriculture being the primary source of livelihood for the majority of the rural families. Agricultural productivity remains low due to outdated farming practices, insufficient irrigation, and lack of modern equipments. That's really true. because there are climate change and there are several other factors present today, right? So they need some modern equipments to actually improve the crop productivity. Fine. uh, and there's climate change, as I told you, unpredictable weather patterns, frequent drought, okay, floods, okay, and the impact of climate change continue to, like, devastate the crops. So this is all about. And next is lack of infrastructure. See, many rural areas still face poor road connectivity, okay. Even there is there's panchayat who has all these responsibilities, still somewhat they are not working properly or what, I don't know, but still there is a problem of this particular thing, okay, hindering access to markets, education, healthcare, and other essential services. This leads to economic isolation and lack of development opportunity. Fine. Then there's also electricity and water scarcity. Although there has been progress under programs like Din Dayal, something like that, I forgot the name. Okay, then Jyoti Yojana was there. Um, okay, so many areas still struggle with irregular electric supply, and the water scarcity is another issue. So this is all about the infrastructure. And one more thing, that there is a presence of well, right? So like the groundwater is exploited a lot, means it's used up a lot. Fine. Then comes the education and skill development. So as I told you, there is less opportunities for having a quality education. Okay, despite efforts to promote education, rural areas still face issues like shortage of schools, poor infrastructure, and high dropout rates. And that is particularly among the girls, because the rural society is still stuck in a patriarchal attitude, and they think that women are only born to handle the household works. Okay, so there is this kind of mentality still present, and I think that this is a very uh, important part, or important thing that government should actually work on. And then there is obviously a skill gap, right? There is a severe skill gap in rural India, with most of the population engaged in agriculture or like unskilled laborers. So there's a huge need of vocational training and proper educations for self-employment, and like for a sustainable livelihood. Fine. Next is the gender equality. Obviously, there's no gender equality. The women face a lot of problems for this. Fine. Limited empowerment of the woman. Rural women face gender discrimination in access to resources, education, as I told you, and employment. They are not allowed to get employed, because they think that a woman should stay at home and work for her family members, okay, and get married to a man, then bear a child. This is all about. Then obviously there was before it was there that child marriage used to occur, then the domestic violence in many rural areas, and lack of representation in decision making process are prevalent issues. Now there was there's also limited financial inclusion. Women in the rural areas also face barriers in accessing in financial services, which restricts their ability to start businesses or improve their economic standards, okay, because they are not even allowed to go out and work like a man. So there's a barrier, right? If they will not work, they will never become financially independent. they'll be always dependent, and what that is what the people of the rural uh, you know community, the society wants, because they are in a traditional mindset, which is not good. So I think the government must work on it to change their mentality, to actually explain them why it's important for a woman to get education and uh, to become financially independent, right? Next is adequate sorry, this will be inadequate financial access, okay, not adequate. Limited credit availability, despite programs like the I forgot the name, Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, okay, and self-help groups are also there. Rural communities still face challenges in accessing affordable credit. Many farmers and small entrepreneurs, they rely on informal financial sources, which are expensive and often exploitative, okay. And there is lack of insurance too. There's limited access to insurance for crops, health, or life, which exposes rural population to significant financial risk, especially in case of crop failure or any natural disaster. If they somebody dies, or the crops gets damaged, destroyed, so there must be an insurance which will help them, right? But it's not present there. Then comes the political administrative challenges. Obviously, there's a very weak local governance in many areas. Panchayats, means the local self governments, are weak, or lack of adequate resources, okay, leading to insufficient delivery of services. There's no proper services and resources. This affects development, uh, and often leads to corruption and poor governance, okay. This is all about. And uh, there's also a policy implementation gap, despite the you know of many rural development programs. There are challenges related to poor implementation and lack of monitoring, leading to unutilized or mismanagement of funds. So this is all about. Now let's move on to the urban society. What is urban society? It's just the opposite of the rural society. Okay, there's high population, there's a lot of employment opportunities, um, and occupational mobility is present there. There is a lot of education opportunities for you, and services are also well and fine. But the thing is, there's no unity, no proper unity among the people. Whereas in the rural area, I'll see that the people are mostly like emotionally connected to each other. But in the rural society, it's somewhat a bit less. Okay, that is, I think, a big difference between them. Well, we'll also go through the differences. Let's go through this first. The urban area is characterized by high population density, advance. Sorry, it will be advanced, not advantage. Okay, correct it. Advanced infrastructure and a predominance of non-agricultural economic activities. Fine. It is shaped through centuries of historical evolutions, and to continues to transform under the influence of modernization and globalization. It's still in a dynamic process, even though the rural society also in a dynamic process. But the thing is, the basic difference is that the changes that occurs in the rural society is basically in a very pace slow pace. But in the urban society, it's in a very fast pace. Well, we'll see the difference this one. um, the social dynamic within urban setting are shaped by rapid and formal interactions driven by factors such as education, technology advancement, then industrialization and urban development. Fine. And one more thing, you can add this too. There's a municipal government present there. Okay. Nagar panchayats, the nagar palikas, and then the municipal council and municipal corporations. Okay. This is all about. Now let's move on to the problems of the urban society. What are the problems? So first one is housing. Obviously, because there's a lot of population, there's a housing problem, and creation of the slums is there, right? So rapid urbanization often leads to a shortage of affordable and safe housing, resulting in an overcrowd and substandard living conditions. Okay. uh, and also there's a creation of slums. Okay. Which sometimes they are facing poverty too, and several health issues, because there's a lot of overcrowding, and because of the slums, because of the congested area and the housing how they live, there's a lot of pollution generated. Okay. Which creates the health issues and different diseases. Okay. um, and next is environmental issues. As I told you, there's a lot of pollution. Okay. Cities face various forms of pollutions, including the air, water pollution due to industrial emissions. Okay. And there's traffic and waste disposal problems too. There's a lot of cars. Okay. Which run through petrol and all. So obviously there's a pollution. And also in the urban areas, for like building the industries and different buildings where people will stay, there is a deforestation present, means cutting down of the trees, which further it accelerates the pollution level. Because if the trees will not be present there, then the carbon dioxide level will increase. So this is one more thing, the reason. Then next comes is the social issues. Crime. Okay. Cities often experience higher crime rates compared to the rural areas, but I think in nowadays it's nearly the same. Whatever. Uh, like I think so. With complex social and economic factors contributing to this phenomena. Obviously, there's a lot of crimes too in the city areas, because there's a complex social and economic factors, and there's a huge competition among the you know among the peoples. So obviously, then there is social inequalities too. Rapid urbanization can you know uh, accelerate the existing inequalities. Okay. Inequality, like in the basically uh, inequality between the low income population and the higher income population. Okay. So this is all about. And there's also due to this social issues, there's a weakening social structure. Some sociologists, they argued that urbanization can lead to a decline in traditional social institutions like family and religion, potentially impacting social cohesion, means social unity. Some of the sociologists, they argue in this point. So this is all about. Now the next one is infrastructure challenges. Transportation, the first problem. Okay. Cities manage to struggle traffic congestions, inadequate public transportation, and increased demand for transportation infrastructure, because the population is very much, right? So there's a huge demand for transportation. And then comes the waste management. Rapid population growth puts immense pressure on waste management system, leading to pollution and health hazards. Water and sanitation. Inadequate access to clean water and sanitation facilities is a major concern in many urban areas. Okay. because there's a lot of population and there's a lot of pollution. See, everything is actually connected to the population growth and pollution. Everything. If you connect, you'll understand. Next is economic issues. Obviously, there's a lot of competition, and hence there's economic issues too. Unemployment, first of all. Job growth may not keep pace with the population growth, leading to high unemployment rates and poverty. Even though there is a lot of opportunities, but due to the population, there's a huge competition among the members. And and just think, a company, how many people can work? Let's suppose in a small company, um, it can hold only like for example, it can hold only 500 people. So, and obviously the company have to earn more to pay the employees, right? So that is the reason there's a huge competition, and there's also a problem of unemployment. Fine. And obviously for this there is a poverty. A significant proportion of the urban populations may live below the poverty line, like the rural areas. Okay, and see, in the rural area, they don't have skill, they don't have opportunities, they don't have proper educations and institutions, hence they are in poverty. But in the case of a urban society, they're not getting getting jobs because of this fast paced life and the huge competition that is present there. This is the difference. Okay, poverty is present in both the societies, but the reason is different. Okay. So they face challenges in accessing the basic necessities and the opportunities. um, and the next is and obviously, like for the poverty, there's economic inequalities too, right? The gap between the rich and the poor can widen in urban areas, leading to social unrest and instability. Okay, and this will automatically lead to political instability sometime. Okay, so next is public health. The first problem is overcrowding. Because of overcrowding, uh, the higher population density, hence the overcrowding will be there. Hence the spread of the infections or the diseases and other health problems will also accelerate more. And then the mental health issues, urban living, and basically sometimes the urban living, it contributes to stress, anxiety, and other mental health issues. Okay, due to various factors like social isolation, noise pollution, and the fast paced environment. Okay, so this is all about. Now let's move on to difference between rural and urban society. See, I haven't added the features or the characteristic part of each society, but the reason is that if you go through the differences, okay, you can easily write the characteristics or the features if it's given in their exam. Okay, so it's basically the same thing. So I haven't added it differently. I'll just go through the differences. The differences are only the features. Okay, now let's move on with this difference between rural and urban society. The first is life. See, life in the rural society is very simple and reflects in the way of living, dressing, then food habits, shelters, and the manners, etc. Whereas life in the city or urban areas are very complex and complicated, right? Next is education opportunity. See, um, there's a lot of education opportunity in the urban area, right? A lot of schools, a lot of colleges, universities. But in the uh, rural area, there's a lack of schools. People face lack of school and educational and skill development opportunities, right? And this is because of the population, because most of the population lives in the urban area. So obviously the institutions will they will set up in the urban area in order to gain more students, so that more students enroll in the school, so they will obviously move on to the urban area to set up a school. This is the reason. Then occupational mobility. The rural society, the uh, was very little scope, has a very little scope for occupational mobility, whereas in cities these there are many occupations. So occupational mobility is as well as, you know, there's a lot of occupational mobility in the urban area, but in the rural area it's not present, because the occupation in the rural area is based on the caste. If you have such a caste in which you're to be a barber, so obviously you'll be a barber, okay. But if you are from a high caste like the Brahmin caste, then you will have a different occupations. The occupations are based on caste in the rural areas, but in the urban area there's no such system, and people choose whatever they want. There's mobility for them. Family role. Here, see, in the rural area, the family plays a very significant and predominant role. It holds, uh, a strong position, whereas in the cities or in the urban societies, the hold of the families is not strong, and may functions, many functions which the families used to perform have been taken away by other institutions and associations, right? Like for example, in rural areas, the grandparents and the parents still teaches their children, the grandchildren's, at home when they are very small. But in the urban area, this has been taken away by the schools, right? So you'll see that in the urban areas, small children, even the very small children, are also going to schools, even like the 3 4 years boys and girls, they're going to school. But in the rural areas, uh, people often choose to educate their children at home first, then they things for the school. The next is changes. Obviously the change in the rural area is in a slower speed, right? And in the urban area it's in a fast speed, okay. Then the population in the rural area, the population is very low, and in the urban area it's very high. Pollution, obviously the pollution is also very high in the urban area, and the pollution in the rural area is very low because there is no industry present there, and there is no overpopulation. But in the urban area there is industry and there is overpopulation, hence leading to crowd, and you know, there's no proper waste management. This is the reason behind the pollution. And also there's cars, a lot of cars, right? Then services, okay. See, there's a lot of available and accessible services in the urban area, like the water supply, electricity, health services. All of these are very close and accessible. But in the rural area, people have to move far away, have to go far away for getting a hospital, to go to a hospital, okay. And you know, the poor road construction further worsen this, okay. So this is all about there are proper services in the urban areas, and in the rural areas there's no proper services. People have to move far for getting all those services, fine. And there's a lot of power cut in the rural areas, so okay. Then status of women, obviously, like in the rural society, the women's, okay, are not very respected, or they are undervalued. But in an urban society, they get a proper status. Okay, they are even allowed to get education and get employed. Fine. So the women's comparatively they have higher status in the urban areas. Next is nature and religion. In the rural society, people love nature and natural boundaries. They are religious minded and afraid of gods and goddesses. Whereas in the urban society, people have no time to stand and gaze at the nature, right? They are very busy in a competitive environment always. They are not religious minded but are more practical. I would say they are more practical. It's true that they don't get enough time to gaze at nature, but gaze at nature, and they're not much release it, but they're practical at least. They don't believe, in this superstition. Okay, this is something I like about them. Next is housing. This is a very big problem, guys, in the urban area, because as I told you, there's a lot of population in the urban area, hence there's a overcrowding and creation of slums. Okay, so there's a obviously there's a housing problem. There's no space left. Still, people are living there in the crowded area. But if you see in the rural areas, there's a lot of free space. Okay, there's a lot of free space, green place, obviously, a lot of greeneries side of the houses. So that's very beautiful and aesthetic. So, yeah, that was all. And the housing, maybe the housing is a bit poor, poor condition, not a standard house. Still, it's quite good. At least they're able to enjoy the nature, proper wind, there's no pollution there, right? So that was all for today. So I'm done with this chapter. Hope you all understood the thing. Now in the next video, maybe I'll go through the socialization part. Yeah, in the next video I'll go through the socialization part. And for today it's done. Thank you, keep learning, and hope you all are understanding. If so, then please hit the like button and comment below. If any doubts, feel free to ask, and share this video with your friends if they are facing problems with sociology. So yeah, thank you, bye bye, keep smiling, keep learning.